So Nadia, you wrote like 2,000 words on Zelda. We
Uh-huh.
were all joking at E3 that you officially earned the Zelda review with that article. You're clearly like super passionate about it. But when we talked about it on Axe of the Blood God, you obviously weren't there to talk about it.
Mhm.
So I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts and why you're so into Zelda.
This Zelda in particular, it's a funny thing. It's more of a feeling than an actual tangible thing I can explain. I've said before how much I loved games like Dragon Quest VIII because I could look off into the horizon and say, I want to visit there. And to be able to do that in a Zelda context, especially since, like, you think about it, the history of Zelda has always been like, oh, you can go this far, and then like there's a mountain blocking you, or there's some trees here blocking you, and it was the same with Ocarina of Time. And just the idea that you can just go on and on and on and see everything the world has to offer you. Not to mention so many fun ways to traverse the world. Like that glider thing looks awesome. A horse, you give me a horse, I'm fine. So I think even if it turn like let's be honest, even though it turns the Zelda formula on its ear, the idea of an open world is hardly Nintendo's own invention. But I really am eager to see how Nintendo handles the open world. Not to mention Monolith Soft, which is also working on this. They, of course, did Xenoblade Chronicles, which is another series that I love. So I'm really looking forward to see what can be done here.
So wait, Monolith Soft is actually working along
They
with
had
Nintendo on this?
Yes,
some of the team
it was
members
revealed
are
that
on it.
they're helping with the
They're
open
helping.
world, which is something Kat was saying at our at From Us to You. If you haven't
Yeah,
seen it, From Us to You, our live E3 streams, Kat, you were worried slightly that Zelda's open world might be a little bit sparse, like you felt Xenoblade Chronicles X was, even though others disagreed.
hmm
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if sparse is the right word. To be honest, it's just like taking an adjustment. It's definitely a major adjustment from previous Zelda games, and I love like standard Zelda, right? I
hmm
love the Link to the Pasts and the when it's done really well, it's just phenomenal, right? I love the craft that goes into the dungeons and the puzzles and everything, and I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think that's going to end up being lost in this game. I just kind of am reserving judgment because we didn't actually see all that much of what they had to offer.
Yeah, that's true.
So what I actually got to play was I played the intro, right, where you wake up in like your weird Hylian alien resurrection chamber
Hmm.
and find out that you've been asleep for 100 years, and then you go and it's basically walking you through the tutorial, right? So
hmm
it's like here's some clothes, and I'm like, I choose not to put on clothes. No clothes for me.
I reject these conformities.
By the way, I look forward to that being turned into an animated GIF. No clothes for me. Um, and then I went out into the world and I met this like random lumberjack, and he walked away, and I followed him.
Because you had
And
no clothes.
no, well, I had no clothes. No, look, I was just like I was free as a bird.
Lumberjack's like, no, I'm not into that. Sorry.
Turn
And,
around.
and for a dude who was asleep for 100 years, Link was looking pretty built. I mean, he was looking
Yeah.
all right. But so then the lumberjack was giving me some like easy quests to do initially, and that like directed me to a temple. So I went to the temple, and by the temple I mean like it was basically one puzzle.
hmm
I had to get this magnet and use it to lift some tablets or like stone covers or something, because apparently magnets work on stone. Maybe it was
Maybe it's
metal, and
lodestone.
I'm just misremembering. But and that was like the demo timed out at that point. But like I got an axe, and that ended up being the most memorable part of that demo for me. Was I got this sweet axe that I could wield that I had never really seen Link wield before,
hmm
and it definitely felt very different without necessarily getting into Dark Souls territory. I think the comparisons to Dark Souls are still misplaced. like constantly Zelda's always being compared to Dark Souls for some reason, even though they're two very different games. And I strongly suspect that this new Zelda will end up kind of going its own way in a lot of respects. So I think it'll still adhere to the solving puzzles, exploring, and not being quite as combat heavy as your standard Dark Souls game.
You mean you disagree with the name of The Legend of Zelda Skyrim Souls?
It's nothing like Skyrim. I mean, for one thing, I don't see any dragons.
Give it time.
Yet.
And
Yes.
I don't think I can... There's a werewolf, but I don't think I can marry my werewolf girlfriend. So, in
You
that
should be able
respect,
to.
nothing like Skyrim. And can I just say, as like a really brief aside, what the heck, Bethesda? Don't remaster Skyrim. Remaster Morrowind or Oblivion. That's all
I've been hearing a lot of that. Yeah.
I just wanted to get that off my chest because I've played Skyrim. I've played it relatively recently. I have not played Oblivion at all. I kind of want to play it. So
Yeah, neither have I.
I guess I could go download the high definition texture packs, but if any game really needed like some work, that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a totally different aside. Oh, look, my cat's here.
Hello, kitty.
So
But I think... Oh, sorry, Kat. I was going to say, your fears about the open world being a little sparse, I don't think they're misplaced. And that's one thing that has me curious about the final product is Nintendo's like, oh, well, there's going to be NPCs, there's going to be villages. We didn't want to put them here because that spoiled the story. And okay, fine, I appreciate that. And I honestly am not against a wider open world. Like, I love the sea in Wind Waker, just how peaceful it is. But I can understand why some people aren't so big on there not being much action in between dungeons. So I am curious to see how Nintendo resolves that.
Well,
I mean, it
Zelda
looks
is
like-
very much in a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind
It really
of
is.
situation with Zelda. I mean, it's like, go with the old standbys and the comfort and the comfortable like familiarity of the series. Well, it's not innovating enough. This is
Exactly.
terrible. Just
Exactly.
ignore the fact that it's incredibly handcrafted and gorgeous and like so many, and really puts you in this compelling world. Just ignore all that stuff. I've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
But the second that you go and do something new, people are like, whoa, slow down there, Nintendo. This is not what I want out of a Zelda.
Exactly.
Who pointed out, was it Jeremy that was like, we only love Zeldas when the next game comes out? So like, we hated like Wind Waker.
We really
until
did.
we got to Twilight Princess, and then it was like, oh my god, Wind Waker was so good. Twilight
Yeah.
Princess is crap.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
already started. I mean, didn't you write a really positive article about Skyward Sword?
I love Skyward Sword so much. Like, where did you people come
She
from?
did. She wrote a positive article
That's
about
what I
Skyward
meant.
Sword.
Nadia wrote the Skyward Sword article
Yeah.
that was positive.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, people are gonna, I thought people were gonna argue with me about like, oh, Skyward Sword had nothing redeemable about it, and but no, people were like, not just, oh, I love the graphics, oh, I loved, the dungeons, I loved the world. Like, okay, hi.
We've come full circle with Skyward Sword. There was the like excitement of it coming out, and then there was the disappointment, and now we're back to, oh, screw the haters. Skyward Sword was the best in the series. We've
Pretty
seen it with
much.
Wind Waker. We've seen it with Twilight Princess.
It's kind of an interesting phenomenon.
It is an interesting phenomenon. I guess it's a lot to do with the incredible, insane, outsized expectations that are heaped on every single Zelda game, and will be heaped on this one too.
Absolutely, especially this one because it's so big in scope.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess we'll see. So this is what I will say about this Zelda. I'm going to definitely reserve judgment, but it didn't initially speak to me because I'm not normally the kind of person who can just walk around on an empty plane or like just cook some food or do whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who will look off to the horizon and go, oh, that looks interesting. I'm the kind of person who goes, I got my like village and my werewolf girlfriend, and I got my next quest that I can maybe go on, and a dungeon to explore, and some things that I can tool around with. Or I'm the kind of person who like I want a really like defined story and a really defined path. And I know that there are a lot of people who like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm not even saying that Nintendo won't put me on that path. I'm just saying that what I saw right at the outset reminded me a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles, another extremely open, extremely unfocused game. And so I wanted to reserve judgment.
That's fair.
Now, no, what were we going to say, Mike?
I mean, as we all know, I am the open world guy. So I am definitely
you are the
down.
open world guy.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for like everything Nintendo is selling in the trailer and the stream. I was like, okay, yeah, no, we're gonna wander. We're gonna wander the world. What? We're gonna kill something with boulders? What? We're pushing stuff off bridges? Hell yeah! It's like climbing over everything. I am definitely down with it. Probably not to the level that Nadia is, because 2,000 words, damn.
Seriously, Nadia, geez, go read it. You should go read it. She just does a really great job of recapping that stream.
I basically just recapped the whole thing and like kind of added my own commentary, and that was fun.
Good
But
stuff.
no, I'm definitely down with the open world Zelda. And I mean, even Skyrim, which I never finished, I still enjoyed while I was playing. It was one of those like, let's go do all of the things. Okay, I have done all of the things I care about. I am done now. What? End of world dragons?
Oblivion.
And Fallout 4, as we've said before, I was crafted very well. My expectations were just in a different spot for that. So I am definitely ready for Nintendo to throw it at me if they want to do more open worlds. Yo, Metroid needs some help, y'all.
Yes, please. Thank you.
God, yes. My heart is broken. But at this point, like, I just want a 2D Zelda. But I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Well, even if they put it on like a 3DS or whatever else they put it on, whatever the NX gives us, I'd be okay with that because, as I've said many times before, A Link Between Worlds was fantastic.
Yes.
It was freeform.
They can still do it.
Oh, yeah. No, Link Between Worlds was fantastic. And, yeah, you're right. It did take Zelda in a much more open direction, didn't it?
It really did.
So it ended up working well. Before we move on to the next topic, I'm just kind of curious. What was the one thing that jumped out at you the most, aside from the fact that it was open world, from what we learned about Zelda at E3?
I think I actually wrote about it. The interesting mix of visual styles and like the Sheikah slate, for example, is like kind of a mix of technology and magic, which we saw in Skyward Sword. But I don't necessarily think the two are linked story wise. But I just think that's an interesting visual effect right there. It makes me curious about the story, like what's going on here. Why is Link waking up in some zero? One of those chambers where you float in a zero sensory chamber. That's it. Like, why is he there? Why has he been asleep for 100 years? Like, I'm really intrigued about the story and the world, and why is Hyrule in ruins? Even
Is
though
this going to be the first like direct sequel? Well, not first, because
yeah, some people are
Zelda 2
saying that
was it.
there's signs that it takes place in like after Wind Waker sometime.
Interesting.
Like you find deposits of sea salt in the middle of Hyrule.
yeah.
So what you're saying is that this is the dawn of the ocean, like rising up in Hyrule?
Or it drained
Or
away.
the aftermath.
They took a big sump pump and just went and fixed up Hyrule.
How about you, Mike?
Honestly, it's destroying Hyrule. Like, it was like, what? We're gonna chop down trees. Let's chop down all of the trees.
I'm Paul
We're
Bunyan.
pushing boulders. Let's push every boulder. What's this, a little camp? I'm going to destroy this camp. This is my Hyrule. I'm Link. So
Get
it's
out
the
of my
same.
way.
Yeah, it's the same thing I enjoy in most open world games. It's just like, this is my territory now. Even if they don't give me a little area that I can take over and it will flip to my color, I'm sure I can make sure that all of the citizens know who their boss is.
I do like how in the trailer you see a couple of bokoblins talking to one another, and that's when Link pushes the boulder and it just smashes them both. They're just sitting there minding their own business. So obviously you're going to have to make some moral calls in this game.
Yes. Is Link truly the hero?
He's the hero we all need.
What we need is like one of those ethics meters. It's like go and chop down the tree. It's like don't going up to red.
past the screen as Mike keeps on playing.
Yeah, pretty much.